we are mildly interesting guys, and we talk about some stuff. So welcome to the podcast, we call it Joel the Podcast. It's Alex and it's Alex, here for Joel the Podcast. Another week is here, and I'm going insane. I need a podcast to fill my brain. Movies and Task, Reddit, Minute of Sports, betting $1 and Joel the Game. Quora and questions from real listeners. All that and more on Joel the Podcast. Bzzz. Hello, everybody. I'm Alex.
And I'm Alex.
I'm Alex.
I'm Alex.
And this is our podcast, Joel. Well done. Well choreographed, everybody.
Yeah.
Welcome to, what episode is this?
120.
120.
Monumental.
Totally monumental episode number. So welcome to episode 120. As you may have heard from our intro, we have two guests here with us today. Nathan, you want to introduce our guests?
Yeah, this is Alex.
Hi, everybody.
And this is Alex.
I'm Alex.
All right. Cool. Should we just jump into the sports minute?
Yeah, let's do that. We had some good sports discussion.
Yeah, so this is a meticulously researched and discussed sports minute.
Right.
So Nathan, you have your 1 minute timer.
Yeah, starting now.
So Alex, did you want to share some of the sports news you were saying?
Congrats to Zach Edey for getting drafted into the NBA. Boiler up.
Boiler up. He was drafted 9th to the Memphis Grizzlies.
Yes.
Very
yes, he
exciting.
was.
Also, the MLB All-Star Game is coming up. So, that's cool.
Are there any players you know on the All-Star teams?
Well, the Phillies will have several players. I mean, the teams haven't been decided yet.
Oh.
So, it's coming up in a couple of weeks.
Well, look out for the next sports minute then.
Exactly, yeah.
You said it's coming out in a couple of weeks?
Yeah.
When's the All-Star game?
It's usually middle of July. I don't know off the top of my head when it is, but yeah, 2 weeks from now or so.
We may have another episode by then.
Yeah.
Big shout out to Monty Williams for making $100 million to get fired and not coach basketball teams.
For
That's
two
the dream.
teams.
For two different teams.
Yeah. I'm not coaching any basketball teams.
And
Are you
you're not getting
getting paid for
Not
it?
getting paid
That's
for it.
unfortunate.
Well,
so
I'm getting paid.
you
but
should
not
take
for
a
that.
page out of Monty Williams' book.
All right, that's the end of the minute. Great work, everybody.
Well done. For 20 seconds in, I was worried.
I know.
Because we had talked about sports for about, 2 full minutes before that. But then it didn't work out, so.
We used up all our good jokes and banter in that time. So.
Awesome. All right, do we have any emails this week?
Oh, that's a great question that I should have been prepared for.
Which you literally, I feel like that's a common theme that you're like, oh, I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, since I forgot to post the last
we
episode,
surely
probably
don't.
have any emails. So I guess
Alex, did you have something you wanted to say?
No, it's okay.
I can't believe we're being trash talked on our own podcast.
Well, since we don't have any emails, if you guys wanted to just toss some,
You want me to send you an email?
You can send us an email.
Or if you just wanted to verbally say, have any comments or questions,
okay.
Yeah.
Do you have any...
I think it would be better though if we just all sit here and wait for you to type out an email.
Okay.
What's
I do
the
type very
email
slowly.
address?
Well, you can find our email by going to our website, which is actually very easy to remember.
Yeah, very easy. Are you ready for it?
Yes.
It's alexandalex@joelthepodcast.github.io/alexandalex@joelthepodcast.website/index.html. And then if you just go there and click on basically anything, it'll take you to our email.
Yep.
Is this also a public GitHub repo?
Nathan set it up.
I don't know.
Uh-oh, I believe it is.
Probably has to be for it to be a GitHub IO page, right?
Yeah.
Well,
There's nothing wrong with that. No one can
yeah.
edit
I'm
it without
just-
you
know what?
approving it, right?
I'm never gonna check, so it'll be fine.
What GitHub username? or organization
It's
is the repo under?
probably Alex and Alex at Joel the Podcast.
Just starts reading the whole URL again. Just
.github.io/Alex now.
So a comment while Joel's trying to hack into our GitHub.
Just trying to find it in a
I think you mean Alex is trying to.
Yeah, Alex, my apologies.
Wow. He just thought you were the podcast.
We've tried in the past, actually, to, like, refer to everyone, like, including Nathan, as Alex the entire episode, and I'm just so bad at it. Like, I'm really just terrible at it.
I'm really good at it most of the time. Sometimes there's other guests that are not as good, but almost all of our normal episodes, I call him Alex 99%
Gmail?
of the
You guys
time.
don't even have, like, a dedicated domain for this podcast?
That's correct, yeah. Just
That's why it's
Would you
Alex
like
and
to
Alex
make a
at
donation?
Joel the Podcast.
That's kind of
At
unprofessional.
Yeah, the email...
Do you want a .us.milk? Or, wait, .us... milk.us.org?
What is that?
It's probably us.milk.org, right? Because you probably don't have us.org.
Probably not.
You have milk.org? Still? That also seems like something someone else should have.
It's probably milk.us or us.milk.
So not .org.
I can find it.
Isn't there .org though? I feel like
There is .org.
Maybe it's
And you don't have-
org.milk.us.
.org is supposed to be for, like, charitable organizations, but it's not. You can just get one.
Correct, yeah.
You have a charitable organization about U.S. milk, or
It's about
it was
us
such
milk.
a long
Oh,
story.
He's a big
Well, I don't-
advocate for milking himself and us, and
What?
has a
That-
website
I-
dedicated
let's-
to it.
I think we should probably double click on that point here in the podcast.
Yeah, let's really focus in on this one.
So did you get a new email, or?
So we did not get any new emails.
I think
Okay.
Joel's trying to access our
Alex!
website rather than.
You mean Alex. But I was just going to say, I don't get to see our email very often.
That's true.
I'm really enjoying I am a dumbass, I am a dumbass, I am a dumbass, parentheses 1, I am a dumbass, just all the subject lines being I am a dumbass. So,
Yeah.
thank you to Cephalopod for always making that the subject line.
Yep.
All right, I think we should probably move on, right?
Sure.
So yeah, we're here with a very special live in-person episode. Live to us, not to you, the listeners.
It's for no particular reason. We're
Yeah.
just kind of here.
We just happened to be we just bumped into each other.
Yeah.
And also our two guests.
What a coincidence.
What a coincidence. And we thought that maybe we would spend this episode, because we have our guests, interviewing them. So, yes, Alex is very excited.
Yep.
Do you want to preface the interview at all?
Yeah, I suppose. So, this has been an interview podcast from the beginning.
Right. I mean, we're
Interview.
just going back to our roots, really.
Yeah. So, I mean, it just felt natural while we were all here together to, speak with some people here and maybe get to know them a little better so that when they're on the podcast in the future, right, we're all recording another episode after this to be released later. So
we'll see if the people want me back.
Yeah. Well, I guess this could get pretty dicey. We're not
Yes.
sure. We didn't rehearse this at all.
Exactly.
Yeah. So just to be clear, our interviewees have no preparation or understand. We haven't told them anything about what we're going to be asking them.
Right.
And also, another thing is we've done, I would say extensive would probably be the word that I would use, extensive research into our two guests
Incredibly
in
thorough.
advance, even though we just bumped into them,
Right.
to know what to ask. So that's certainly going to be, you'll see it in our questions. It'll come out.
Yeah, I think the depth of effort that we put in is going to be.
It's really commensurate with everything in our podcast.
Yeah, for sure. 100% accurate.
All right, should we begin?
Yeah, let's just get right into it. So, first of all, I'll kick this off with Alex here. According to our research, you're actually wearing a hat right now. Could you tell us about that?
Yeah, I'm actually currently wearing a hat that has some logos on it,
Cool.
actually of a place, and it's a very nice hat. It's given to me as a gift.
Yeah, so what do you think of this hat?
Well, hold on. I'm actually very confused about the last thing you said. It was given to you as a gift.
Yes.
Now, what is that?
A gift.
Yeah, what is a gift?
So, have you heard of Christmas?
Chris?
The holiday.
So a holiday. I thought it was someone's name as soon as you said it.
No.
Are you familiar with this?
I've heard of Christmas before, but I'm not really familiar with holidays.
Is it like
It's not the hollandaise sauce, but a holiday.
what's another
So-
example of a holiday?
Like Halloween.
Oh, Halloween. I know Halloween, the movie, right? There's like a whole franchise.
Right, and
Exactly.
also the condiment, I think, if I'm not mistaken.
No. No,
No
I
condiment?
don't know the condiment.
Okay.
No comment on the condiment.
I mean, I put Halloween on my hot dogs all the time.
I think that's what they refer to as Chicago style. Everything but ketchup.
No, everything
I'm
but
pretty
yeah.
sure that's Detroit style.
Anyway, okay, so
Detroit style is everything
let's.
but ketchup
I mean,
and Halloween.
our listeners may be more familiar with Christmas than we are. So why don't
Sure.
you just presume that we understand what Christmas
Okay,
is?
okay.
So
Well, you give gifts, and
Yeah.
yes, so somebody bought this hat,
uh-huh,
put it in a box,
uh-huh.
so I couldn't see it. They gave it to me and said, "This is yours." I opened the box. There's a hat.
Why
I
did you
now
open
own the
I'd
hat.
like to zero in on the statement you said it's a good hat.
Yes.
Could you clarify what qualities of this specific hat make it good relative to other hats?
It fits my head. I have an abnormally shaped head, so it's really tough to find a hat that fits
Oh,
it.
okay. So hats go in your head.
Okay.
I didn't realize that.
Yep.
It does seem to be at least.
I
in our
thought this was
sample
like
size
I thought
here.
this was like an unusual way to wear a hat
Yeah.
on your head, but I guess that's normal.
It's an interesting statement for sure.
Uh-huh.
I'm just imagining other people doing that, and it does seem a little weird.
Wearing it on their head.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just imagine because we're all sitting here, right? None of us have hats.
Right.
Except for him.
Right. But I'm sure if we did, they would be on the normal place in our bodies where we put hats, right?
Let's say it at the same time. 1, 2, 3.
Shoulder. We all know what it is. Let's say it at the same time. I thought you were actually going to say one too. Okay, yeah. So anyway, would you agree that shoulder is the normal spot, or
Yeah, I mean, but between shoulder and head, shoulder definitely seems more natural,
Sure,
given
sure.
the shape of that, object.
right the hat?
Hmm.
Yeah. And now, so you said it has a place on it. I'm reading the top, and it says Death Valley. That is the place.
Yes.
Right? Yes.
So, this may be a very personal question,
Mhm.
but how many people
Have you killed?
have you killed there?
I have never been to Death Valley.
That is interesting.
Hmm. So, do you just like ship your dead bodies there then after you kill them in other places?
Yeah.
I'd like to plead the Fifth
The fifth what?
Amendment.
Oh, amendment.
So yeah, this is we're not lawyers. This is not.
This is
legal
not legal
advice,
This is
advice.
not legal advice. Yeah.
But
okay.
But we're pleading the fifth. Actually,
Right.
Alex
He's-
is just pleading the fifth.
He's invoking his right under the Fifth Amendment of the U.S. Constitution
Yes.
no,
Okay.
that's
to
a-
refuse to incriminate himself.
I see.
What would you say the difference is between pleading and invoking the fifth, and which should you're saying we should be invoking?
Well, I mean,
the
you're
fifth.
probably a legal expert, so
Right.
which would you recommend?
This
that...
is not legal.
Oh,
advice.
okay. What would you recommend?
But are you
that-
a lawyer?
I just wanted to point out that he was admitting to what you were saying by pleading.
Oh wait, I thought the way you explained it.
That's not true at all.
I was gonna. I thought
That's
the way.
very allegedly.
He was. He would only need to do that to not incriminate himself. So
Mm.
Oh, interesting.
I thought that again, this isn't legal advice, and this
Uh-huh.
is just based on
We're not.
TV shows.
Yeah, we're not legal
But
experts.
when you plead or invoke the fifth, I'm still not sure which. That cannot be used against you if it's a criminal trial. I believe
but
if
it
it's a
does
civil trial,
mean
you can
that
presume,
you are guilty. But you can't use that knowledge
Yeah.
within the confines of the law.
Well,
I
So
think
in
is what
your
we're saying.
opinion, then, how would you, as a juror?
This is not legal advice.
Of course, we would never.
I mean, our listeners would never construe this as legal advice. We would never. Yeah. Anyway.
So, like, picture yourself as a juror, right? And Alex is on trial for murdering Alex and shipping his body to Death Valley.
Uh-huh.
And Alex pleads the fifth. And there's some other evidence that's, like, iffy that you can't really convict on. But, like, how do you not...
He pled the fifth, so he has to go free.
He has to go free.
So actually, it's like a get out of jail free card.
Is that
Yes.
legal
Even,
advice?
even if
This is not legal.
even if the evidence is like stacked against you, as long as you plead the fifth,
Yeah.
you can't be convicted.
It's like, so here's the murder weapon. It's covered in your fingerprints and his blood. You know,
There were
here's-
three-
There's a
security
video
cam
of
footage.
you murdering
And
him.
3 witnesses.
do you have anything to say for yourself? Well, I plead the fifth.
Damn it! I can't.
Another one.
Yeah, can't believe he knew about that loophole.
Somebody should like take the Constitution away from these people.
Honestly, this is great legal
That
advice.
is legal advice. By the way.
I
Someone
wholeheartedly-
should take the Constitution away from these people.
In my capacity as a legal expert, I think we should not have a constitution anymore, and I don't think that's a controversial statement. I'll
I
just
think
come right out and say
I
it.
think the laws should just be what everyone's common sense is.
Right.
Like,
Hmm.
duh. Obviously, you shouldn't kill people. So that's
There should just be
No,
one
okay.
law that says common sense.
yes.
Right.
And then everyone does whatever they want
No, not whatever they want. Only what's dictated by common sense.
by their common sense.
Right.
So they get to do whatever they think is normal.
Right, but that's not necessarily whatever they want. Because like, there's some things that I would like to do, but I think that are wrong, like killing
How would
people.
you prove
Not that I want to kill
whether
people.
or not they thought it was common sense?
Just ask them.
And then they
What
they
if
say,
they're
yes, it
capable
was
of
common
lying?
sense.
Well, they wouldn't. That's common sense that you shouldn't lie, right?
I don't know that that's common sense.
Wouldn't they just plead the fifth?
No, in this case, there is
There
no
is
fifth.
no
We
fifth.
got rid of the
They
whole
can't plead it.
Constitution.
Well, I assume that would stay though. So that's just like the loophole for
So
everything.
we would have common sense and the Fifth Amendment
Yes,
of the
yes.
Constitution.
No,
Those would be only two
it's
laws.
now the Fifth Amendment to common sense.
Yeah.
Fifth Amendment to common sense.
Would
You
we
can't
would we then
incriminate
have to
yourself.
establish 4 other amendments to common sense so
No.
that we can have a fifth? And
That does
if we did,
seem like it would be common sense, but
precisely.
I mean, well, you
So
could-
how would you amend common sense in those 4 ways?
all right. My first, let's go through these one by one. I
Sure.
think. Since there's 4 of us, we can go. Over. So my first amendment would be that it's specifically my common sense. That makes the legal system a lot more simple, right?
Sure.
That
yeah.
is much simpler.
So I'm just like the judge for all cases, right?
Right.
When
Right.
people come in and tell me what happened, and then I'll just, hand down rewards and punishments as I see fit.
So just out of curiosity, like, I would think that the, like, group of like cases is probably too large for you to like judge all of them.
Sure.
So like, what would be your suggestion for like? Obviously, this
would
is,
you delegate?
yeah. Like,
some?
how would you?
Or
Listen,
would you
I-
establish a set of rules that other people have to use to evaluate these cases?
I think that question is best answered by another amendment. So we can go ahead and pass this along.
Okay. So should
Yeah.
I go next?
Go ahead.
Okay. So the Second Amendment to common sense would be that Nathan cannot delegate to anyone and must hear every single case that comes before him in full. I mean, to me, it's common sense that if you delegate, then it's no longer your common sense that's being judged by, right?
That's absolutely.
So
common
I think
sense.
that's the only reasonable conclusion that we can
Yeah.
come to for the Second Amendment.
Sure, for sure. I think that may not address the concerns. It may just codify that there are definitely problems here. So I don't know. Maybe some future amendment can address this, but
Maybe some legal experts can email in and let us know
Right.
like how we can like adjust this system to.
for sure.
This
Right.
is not legal.
This is not legal advice. So
All right, we've actually been joined. Let's pause here for a second. We've been joined by Alex. Welcome, Alex.
Hi. Good to
What a
be
great
here,
thing-
Alex.
yes, thank you. One of the great things about Alex is that it's a gender neutral name.
That's
Both
true.
men and women can be named Alex. So
Yeah.
What percentage of Alexes are men versus women?
50%.
50
I
that-
bet we
is that
could.
true?
I bet we could.
do you know
I
that?
bet we could
I mean,
find this
if you have a person
definitively.
named Alex, they're either a man or a woman. 50-50.
50-50
Whoa.
chance.
Not
Yeah.
true.
Whoa.
And then you just
That's
take
a
that
controversial
probability
topic.
for every Alex, and it has to be 50-50 because each of them is 50-50.
That's not exactly
Wow.
how statistics
I'm not a
I'm not a
math. I'm not a math expert, but that seems right to me.
I think we can just look at the most recent U.S. Census data and find.
Wow, that
the
is
exact
way more
split.
effort than we've ever put in on
I
this
think
podcast.
it
Only
is.
U.S.?
Joel, I think actually if you just look up
Oh,
what
you mean Alex? That's
percentage-
Alex over there.
If you look up what percentage of the population is male versus female, that is the percentage of Alexes because we're all Alex, right?
Everybody may or may not be named Alex with a 50-50 probability. So
No,
No,
everybody
she's
is
saying like
Alex.
we're all Alex.
we are all Alex, but unless you're on the podcast, I don't know that you have to be.
That's pretty exclusionary.
Yeah.
Well, we
Well,
also
other people are
It's an
welcome to be
exclusive
named
club.
Alex, but they're not necessarily named Alex.
right.
But
Really-
they either
really
are
it's-
or are not named Alex. So yes, it is 50-50. They
Right.
would be named Alex. Yeah.
Right.
All right.
This
Should we?
is not legal advice.
This
I,
is
I do want to point out while we're waiting on this census data that ever since we rejected the Constitution, I no longer recognize the U.S. Census as an authoritative source of data. So whatever conclusions we may draw do not reflect
well. So
the
does
views of this podcast.
does your common sense, which is now the legal law of the land,
Yeah.
like say that the census is wrong?
I think it's most likely wrong, because
Right.
that seems really hard to do, right? Like, how could you possibly...
The grill is on. I can smell gas.
I do smell
Maybe it's
gas.
just leaking. All the knobs look off.
I mean, a little gas never killed anyone.
It's probably coming from somewhere else.
So
That
any,
seems worse than if it was.
I'm not
There's
saying
a
that to
known source of
console.
gas,
I'm
and then
saying
there's
given
just
that
the
we've been out
entire
here
rest
with
of the
the
world.
grill before.
I
and
know what I want.
It is
wasn't
coming
on.
from the house.
All right. So while Alex looks up census data, we can, now that we've caught you up to speed on what's going on here,
Yes.
we can look to you, Alex, for our third amendment to common sense.
I still do not have a good picture, Alex, of what's going on here.
All right. So let's
If you were, well,
not
the simple explanation is if you were to amend common sense, to
Like,
make
okay,
some change.
common sense has been made the law of our land. We've eliminated all laws. Everything is just common sense now.
But we need to establish 4 changes
Amendments.
to common sense in the form of amendments.
Okay.
2 have already been established, and so they're
and then
looking
also
to
the
you for
fifth has been
third.
established.
Right, we
for
want
the
people to be able
record,
to
which is
plead
why
the
we
fifth
need
still.
4.
That's why we need
Okay.
to establish 4 amendments.
Right. Or
Okay.
invoke their right to the fifth,
Right.
as
Okay.
we've been informed
So,
by our
Nathan-
resident legal experts.
This is
but it wasn't legal advice.
Of course,
But it was pretty good legal advice, honestly.
I mean, I would do it for sure.
so Alex
Seems
established
like
the
it's a
First
loophole.
Amendment that it's all based on his common sense,
Right.
and
Okay.
no one else's.
And I heard you say.
Yes, I
no.
established. No, I didn't say no. I simply said that he has to hear all. Like he can't delegate. So he's the judge of all cases, right? Because it's his
Yeah.
common sense.
Right.
And we discussed whether he'd be able to delegate that. So my amendment was that he can't delegate that
Absolutely.
because otherwise it wouldn't be his common sense that people were being judged based on. So he has to hear every single case in the country or world or whatever area this.
I mean, we've only rejected the U.S. Constitution.
Sure.
So let's,
Yeah, so
let's
the-
for
We believe in
now
other ones.
limit
Right.
it to the United
So
States.
every case in the United States.
Right.
So those are the first 2 amendments.
Well, I assume that the
Okay.
Third Amendment has to be that the person who hears all of these cases is a civil servant that receives no money so that they can't be bribed.
That's a good point.
That is a very, very good piece of common sense. They should probably be sequestered away from everyone else.
Yes.
Almost like they're in prison in solitary confinement.
Almost
And
like
then-
that.
And then they receive these
like
cases
just like papers. They don't ever meet
through
or
a
see
slot
anyone.
in the
Yeah.
door.
Yeah.
We wouldn't want them to get like natural light or human interaction.
Right. Like if
that could influence
Exactly,
the
exactly.
outcomes.
Because
really needs
if
to
it
be
was a
based on
good
common
day,
sense,
maybe they would
not-
be in a better mood and
Right.
their common sense might
Right.
change.
yeah, that's a
Exactly.
good
You
call.
should never know. It
Right.
should always be as neutral as possible to avoid influences.
I like that idea.
It's a good one. That's a nice Third Amendment. So we did skip over Alex, but Alex can now give us the Fourth Amendment. With
Yeah,
with
the
this
fourth
additional
one,
content.
which I think is the most important, is that
Controversial.
Are we?
common sense
Coming into our
should
podcast.
not be used exclusively in the case where learning more facts about a situation will shed more light and allow you to draw a different conclusion.
Isn't that almost all cases?
It
Yes.
seems like that's
That does seem like it'd be common sense that it'd be almost all cases.
That seems like
But I could receive some information later to change my mind. I suppose.
Exactly.
As long as it's not a bribe, because that
So
was
do
part
we,
of
do
the
we
Third
just have
Amendment.
like all cases come in and then like I make an initial judgment that just is pending until I receive more information?
No,
At which point I
I-
update the judgment, but it's still pending. 'cause
I
couldn't
do
You
No.
can
have
make a
some
decision if
additional
the amount of
information.
information you know is sufficient to make an informed decision.
well, my
How would I know?
my understanding of what you said
Common
was
sense, I suppose.
Yeah.
Okay.
that. I guess I misunderstood what you said because I thought you were saying that common sense should not be the judge in those cases.
Well, you shouldn't invoke common sense
The current
until
state
you
of your
have
common
sufficient
sense.
information.
I got it.
And
Okay.
you
Until
can judge
common
sufficient
sense
information.
tells you that you have a sufficient amount of information
Exactly.
to
Right, so
employ
no-
common
right,
sense,
so-
which doesn't sound like it actually changes anything.
So
Which
Because
is why it
you're
is the
already
perfect
using
amendment.
common sense.
so
I
no.
would argue that what conclusion you would draw with common sense will change depending on the information that you learn. Therefore, common sense isn't one thing that's just static throughout time. The more you learn, the conclusions you will draw using common sense will be different.
I think I agree. So imagine like you have some incomplete story, right? That
Like let's say someone told you that the given name Alex in the United States was almost 50-50 divided between men and women, but then you learned it's actually
Allegedly.
96.5% of people given the name Alex are male.
Allegedly.
Here's my question: are you looking up like Alex or
Alex.
Alexander?
The problem is
or
most
Alex.
people who are named Alex aren't actually named Alex.
Right.
Like my name is Alexander.
We're not talking about
Right, and my name is
all the
also
potential
Alexander.
things where you could just decide you want
Mine's
to be called
Alexandra.
Alex.
Well, then
though.
how else
There
are
you
you, like
We're talking about
people who are named Alex? Yeah.
So, based on common sense here, I feel like more information is actually needed before we render a judgment.
Well done invoking the Fourth Amendment.
I don't think we
Alex.
invoked the Third Amendment, though. You should probably go.
The Third Amendment is being way violated right now. Nathan, Alex, you are the judge. Do you think we're in violation of the Third Amendment right now?
I mean, common sense states absolutely we're in violation.
Yeah, okay.
So I don't think we can render a legally binding judgment at this
Right.
time.
And this, of course, is not legal advice.
Not legal advice, but legal.
Legally
precedent.
right. Everyone listening has to
Well,
follow
I
what we
mean,
say.
this is not legal advice for the current U.S. legal system.
Right.
Well, I thought we got rid of the current U.S. legal
Well,
system.
no. We
did, but I don't think the rest of the
suggested
U.S. did.
that the current U.S. legal system should be replaced by
I
this
see.
system. We did not successfully overthrow the U.S. government and establish this in the time that it took to record this podcast, though.
Oh.
Right.
Did we secede from the Union then?
Well, we don't want to do that,
Just the four
right?
of you?
because then
Common
we
sense
would
says
just
we should
be in a
not
different.
secede
We're
from
saying
the
we want to
Union.
impose this new legal system on everyone else, and I think it's fair to say everything we've stated is legal advice for this new legal system.
Sure.
Wow.
Yeah.
Because we've established it, we know exactly how it works.
Right.
Right.
And especially Alex, since everything in it is based on
Yeah,
his
if
common
he
sense.
says it, it's obviously part
It's not
of
even
the law.
advice, it's just like legal gospel, essentially.
I'm glad we brought a legal expert on.
Yeah, no,
it's good.
this has been one of our most informative
Which
episodes
we did
yet.
that on purpose due to our extensive research. We knew
Right.
that Alex was a legal expert, so that was well planned on our part.
Exactly. Yeah. We definitely have written down an outline of the new legal system in our notes here. That's
Mhm.
where we expected this to go.
Yeah.
Yes.
Allegedly wrote it down.
Common sense that
Yeah.
you can't look though. So.
Should we ask another question?
Yeah, go for it. Why don't you?
All right. So, due to our extensive research, Alex, we're pretty sure that you have been to a bank before. Is that true?
That is true.
Okay. Now, we're curious about this, if you could tell us about this experience. Because obviously we've never been to a bank.
Obviously.
And we don't never talk to anyone who've been to a bank. So
We
we're
may
kind of
need
curious.
to address that check differently.
So we're kind of curious, like, if you could tell us what it's like to go, like, okay, first question, I guess, would be, how did you get into this?
I opened the front door and walked
The
in.
front door.
That's
At
interesting.
what time did you manage to get through the front door of the bank? Because I suspect it won't be possible for the majority of time.
That's a good point.
That is definitely true. It was during the business hours that are listed on the front door, actually.
So you're saying if you go to the front door and read the door, it'll tell you whether or not you can get in?
Yeah.
I actually thought that if you went up to the front door, they would just arrest you right there.
Right. I mean, that's how it's happened for me before.
Yeah.
You should have plugged the
You
fifth.
should get that checked out.
Should have plugged the fifth. Yeah. Next time I'll tell them it's common sense that you can just walk up to a bank and not get arrested.
Yeah.
That seems obvious, right?
Yeah. Okay, so if you walk up to the bank, it says on there where you can get in. So that's actually helpful information. All right, so
Right.
what happened after you went in?
I waited for someone to tell me I could go up to the counter, and then I did.
Okay.
Who did that? Who told you?
The people standing behind the counter.
So did you walk in the door and stop right on the other side of the door? And then I imagine.
Yes.
So I'm imagining the layout of this bank. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Mm-hmm.
You've got.
You're wrong.
Okay.
No, correct him then.
He doesn't follow instructions.
All right. So you've got the front doors, and then you've got a second set of doors right behind the front doors. so that when you open the front doors, it's not just like straight in, right? Because that's just common sense. You can't have...
It's like an
Yeah.
airlock.
Exactly.
No.
Or a
So
vestibule.
you step
It
in.
is just 2 sets of doors.
You step inside. The pressure equalizes. The next set of doors slides open, and then there's a very, very long hallway with a single counter at the end, and like 30 people back there.
Exactly.
Okay.
I was imagining more of a panopticon.
So how?
I'm gonna need you to
what
break
I-
that word down for me.
Let's double click on this.
So my understanding of the long hallway is that it's all booby trapped, right?
Well, of
No.
course.
No.
No.
There are no booby traps.
Really?
Maybe
Just
she just
regular
she
traps.
just avoided all of them, but without knowing about them.
I think in a long, narrow hallway with 30 people on the other side, assuming they were armed, they wouldn't need booby traps because it would be very easy.
Well, they're
Oh,
not
they
trying to
weren't
shoot you.
No, they're
They
not.
weren't armed?
I would.
No.
None of them?
No, I checked them all.
What would
Really?
stop you then from just walking to the end of the long hallway to where the people are and then just taking all of their money?
The counter.
Well, who said
The
that there was
the
money?
How tall
counter
is the counter?
alone would prevent you.
Like 5 feet tall.
Really?
Yeah.
That seems like a tall counter.
That's,
does seem
that's
like a
way taller
very
than me.
Let me say, I've never in my life seen a 5 foot tall counter.
You've
You're
never
lying.
you've never been into a bank,
Not
so
5 feet.
I
There's no way
also
that's 5
agree. I think that for a small but significant portion of the U.S. population, the counter would be above their eye line,
Yeah.
and they would not be able to use that bank.
Why?
In fact, based
you
on
don't
our
have to
extensive
see over
research, I think
counter.
the counter would be like at your eye line. Is that more or less correct?
I am 5'7". The counter is like here.
she's pointing to below her chin, just so
Yeah.
everyone knows,
Thank you.
Based on our extensive research, I'm fairly sure she's lying,
right?
but let's go with it.
I
Let's
mean,
not call out our
I'm still
guy.
I'm still stuck on the fact that there were no booby traps. That's where I like can't get over that.
I'm kind of stuck on the fact that the counter alone is the only safety mechanism this
Well,
bank has to prevent.
It's
you
the
from
only one
taking
she
their-
knows about. It's the one that stopped her.
Right.
That's okay. Okay, that's fair.
I didn't go past the counter.
Right.
So have you been to that bank more than once, or was it just the one time?
More than once.
Was the experience the same each time, or were you doing slightly different things?
Sometimes there are more people in front of the counter.
Did you have to
Really?
follow the same set of footsteps like along the hallway? Like
No.
That's primarily what I was interested
they
in.
must
yeah.
change the booby traps every time, and she's avoided them by chance every single
She's
time.
just incredibly lucky.
Yeah, incredibly lucky.
Yes.
Wow. Wow.
I think they've got it.
All
of
right.
course, I wouldn't know because I never tripped them.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, so you got past.
But based on the shock on everyone's face once you just walked up to the counter unscathed, you probably could
Now they
infer
were
that
calm,
they were.
cool, and collected.
Wow. That's
all 30 of
professionalism.
them?
All 30 of them.
They're pros.
29 of them are just like shoving one of them under the counter. Like, chill, dude. It's fine. The counter will stop her. We planned for this.
All right. So, I mean, I've heard about the 30 people behind the counter before.
Right.
And from what I've heard, when you ask them questions, like 15 of them tell the truth and 15 of them lie. Is that
Right.
true?
No.
No? How many of them tell the truth then?
30 of them.
30 tell the truth?
Yeah.
Okay, and do they answer like all in unison?
No.
Or no?
All
They
30 of them tell the truth.
Exactly.
They
One of them calls me to the counter
Okay.
Okay.
and then does business with me while the others stand back.
This
Ooh,
must not be a Wells Fargo if all of them are telling the truth.
We are
It
not
is, in fact,
sponsored
not a
by
Wells
any
Fargo.
bank.
Thank
But
you to
if Wells Fargo wants
for
to
sponsoring.
sponsor us, we will retract that.
We will edit in a different bank name.
Can you just say a couple other bank names so we have some alternates?
J.P. Morgan Chase.
That's enough for me.
Okay.
Surely we won't.
Surely
have us
only
both
one.
sponsor
They can't.
us.
They can't both sponsor us. If not, one of us will say it. We'll just edit it. It'll be really obvious. But
Well, if they both try and sponsor us, we'll just say, well, listen, you two are going head to head for the right to not have your name slandered on our podcast, so highest bidder wins.
This is not legal advice.
Right.
That does sound like extortion, which I think is a very good idea.
As long as you plead the fifth.
yeah, I mean, as long as we don't institute. I mean, actually, even if we do institute our legal system, you could just say it's common. Hopefully, it's common sense that we would never break the law, right? So
I mean, of course, right? Like,
yeah. So
That's just common
Since
sense.
That's the common
since we
sense.
built the legal system, it's just common sense that we wouldn't like impose some restriction on ourselves.
right.
It's just counter.
Okay, so walk down past the booby traps. One person calls you to the
Alleged
counter.
booby traps. I don't know if they're real.
Well, everyone knows they're real, so I'm just
Okay.
gonna blow past that. The listeners know. So one person calls you to the counter, and you talk to them while everyone else stands behind and watches.
Occasionally,
Occasionally,
the person who's talking to me also talks to the other people behind the counter.
what do they say?
They're usually complaining about things going on in their lives.
Is it in the bank language or like in English?
In my experience, the bank language is English.
Okay.
So she's never heard the bank language then.
Obviously not. Let's skip past that. We don't need to go into that.
Okay. Okay, and so what do you and this person talk about?
How much money I would like to give them, or have them give me for my account.
Them personally?
Then the bank.
Uh-huh.
Does that person speak with the full authority of the bank? Are they
Yes.
allowed to?
So if you
Enter
can
into
request any
Usually.
amount of money
From
that
my
the bank
account.
has.
No,
Oh.
no.
Oh,
Okay.
count.
You could request it, they just won't fulfill it.
Okay.
Allegedly.
So if I go into this bank, if I get lucky enough to make it up to the counter alive,
Mhm.
and I were to request sponsorship or else, how do you think that would go?
I think unless you can get over the counter, you're out of luck.
Okay. What if I am also actually taller than 5 feet?
I'm
What?
taller than 5 feet.
I don't think that's
What if
true,
he
actually.
brings a ladder into the bank? And this is somewhat far-fetched, but he manages to get it to the counter without tripping the booby trap.
I mean, that is true. You
Oh,
can get anywhere with a ladder.
Wow.
So then he gets over the counter. We assume
Right.
he can just get any amount of money he would like at that
Oh,
point.
I can't speak to that.
I'm
I've never
sure.
been over
I
the
think.
counter.
I mean, my understanding is that if you get past the booby trap, I thought it was just if you get past the booby traps. Maybe you also have to get over the counter. They have to grant any 3 wishes to you, right?
I think.
I thought they
think
just gave you a job.
I think you have
That's
to
how
rub
those
the
other
counter
people
for that
got
to
You
be
have to
the case.
rub the counter.
But on the inside.
Okay. Wait. What did you say?
I forget. What did I say?
Okay.
I said that
Play
if
it
you
back,
make it
play it
over the
back.
counter, that's how you get.
Oh, you get a
become
job at the
employed
bank.
That's
Right.
how
So
those
that's
other
the
people
30
got
people.
back
Is how
Oh,
many
I
people?
can't
So-
speak to that. I've never been over the counter.
Right.
Right.
So,
This
so
is all
you're
speculation.
suggesting that once you get over the counter, then you now are able to speak and perform actions with the full authority of the bank.
Correct.
I would
yes.
imagine.
So
Yeah.
presumably, at that point, you could also get yourself the sponsorship you wanted, as
That's
long
right.
as you were capable of getting over the counter.
But at
So
that
now
point,
you
Well-
have the authority to act as the
I
bank.
think at that point the issue is that your ladder is on the other side of
So
the
you're-
counter,
you're
so you're
trapped.
kind of
you,
trapped.
You can never get back.
Yeah, you can never leave.
unless you're capable of getting over a 5-foot counter without a ladder.
Correct.
so if you
yeah.
brought in 2 ladders,
Well,
and
I
tried
can't
to
brought
speak
I
to
two
mean,
what's on the
ladders.
I'm sure
inside
the
of the
snipers
counter.
would get you at that point, right? They're
That's
not going to
it.
let
You-
2 ladders enter.
That's probably the booby
That's
traps
very
are
risky.
probably sufficient.
I mean, I was-
that carrying 2 ladders down the long hallway, you would
It's
certainly
physically
die.
impossible.
I was thinking if you had 1 ladder, you could use it to block the snipers. But if you had 2, you wouldn't really be able
Ladders
to
have lots of holes in them, though.
They are actually mostly holes.
Mostly air, yeah.
I'm
Yeah,
not
like
actually-
Maybe I'm
Like a
picturing a
tree,
ladder
90%
wrong.
air.
You may be picturing the ladder.
I thought it was
wrong.
one of those things like when you go to the mall and there's it's like stairs, but it moves on its own.
No, those are just stairs.
Those are just
No, but stairs don't move on their own.
I think
It's
that's
like
called an elevator.
an elevator.
Mhm.
No, I think you're thinking of stairs.
Wait, so what's a
and
ladder
the
then?
stairs that don't
it an
move are called
Escalade?
static
I
stairs.
think that's right.
Or an
Okay.
escapade? On ice?
Okay, so
Yeah.
what's a ladder then?
A ladder is like that, but if it was steeper,
Uh-huh.
I think.
And then there was a hole
Wait.
between every step.
How big is the
I
hole?
don't know about that part.
Oh, okay.
So
About
if
10
you took
times
your
larger
set
than
of
the step.
static stairs and then you made them completely vertical,
Uh-huh.
and then
That seems hard to
instead of
climb.
having a
It just seems like it would be a flat plane. Like
Are
I
you
don't.
talking
Right,
about like
right,
a
but-
climbing wall,
but
like with the little
instead
rock things on them?
no, if you took the
I
stairs,
think that's what
you
he's
turn
talking
them
about. He just doesn't
completely
realize
vertical,
it.
and then the vertical face on the front of each step,
Uh-huh.
you removed it.
So it's just an empty space then.
No, but you still have the horizontal step.
But it's been
at the same
flattened,
heights.
so it's
It's a theoretical horse. It's got 0 width.
Right. The actual action of taking the stairs and making them vertical does
Right.
not happen.
Ladders are
This
actually
is a
mathematical
theoretical
constructs
exercise.
only.
So I guess we couldn't really bring one then to the. I mean, we
That's okay.
could, but it
we
wouldn't.
Could, we could try to bring some stairs though,
Okay.
or
Definitely
possibly
could
even
bring
static
2.
stairs. But then you have to like climb them manually.
Uh-huh.
That doesn't make any sense. So.
Okay. All right. I guess maybe one more question to Alex about
Hit me.
her experience at the bank. So after you made your request,
Well, I actually have a question about her experience at the bank.
okay.
When you went to the bank and you asked them to perform some banking operation, what were the exact account and routing numbers?
I'm not at liberty to discuss that.
All right, okay.
My
what
client
was
would
your
like
question?
to plead the 5th.
It's actually illegal to disclose banking information outside of
Well,
a
I mean,
bank.
that is common sense.
It's common sense.
Yeah. So.
All right,
Um.
that's the law.
Yeah. Okay. So after you made your request, I guess you made a request that they granted,
Yes,
and so they gave you money.
I give them money.
You gave them money.
Wow.
Yeah.
How did you carry all that money in there? Like I don't know how that you would be able to like lift that much gold, right?
Wasn't
Gold's
gold.
pretty
Gold isn't money.
Gold
Gold is worth
isn't
money.
I don't think. Wait, are we talking about the same gold?
Okay, when I go to the store,
Presumably, is your gold made out of paper?
No.
it's made out of gold. Well,
And
when,
also like 25% other stuff
when I go to
to
the
make it easier to work with.
right when I go to the store, if I want food, like I give them a briefcase of gold and they give me the food. That's money.
I have a lot
I
of questions
think
about
You
your
may
grocery
be
store
slightly.
experience.
I completely agree with the premise. I think you might be overpaying for your
Really?
groceries, though.
I think
I
I would,
think
I would
they
add
might
you are
be-
almost definitely overpaying for your groceries.
Well, we don't know how much groceries he's buying, but he didn't say anything about like driving a tractor trailer up to the store.
Okay,
and
I didn't say
loading it with
anything about
groceries.
groceries. I
Did
said
you not
I said the
say
word
groceries?
food and the word store. So I usually go
That
to like a
is
7-Eleven,
You can buy
Mm.
groceries at a 7-Eleven.
like, and I buy like
24.
15 Snickers bars.
What is the definition of groceries?
I guess maybe it is
'Cause
I mean, you could
feel
call
like
it
I
if
think
you
groceries.
it's-
purchased food at a store, they are groceries.
All right, that's fine. Let's use the term groceries. Okay, so
That
go
does
on.
seem like it's common sense.
Okay.
Well, I was just saying I
Well,
think you're overpaying.
That actually
I
seems
That's not
suspect.
necessarily-
Okay, how much
Sarah.
do you think I should pay?
It
For
depends on
15
how
Snickers
much you. I
bars?
think for 15 Snickers bars,
$20.
you could probably
What's a
pay
dollar?
very small amount of gold, not an amount that would require a briefcase.
Well,
but
you
an
could-
amount you could easily fit into one pocket.
Probably
Of a pair of
like
What is a pocket?
a quarter ounce of gold.
Something on the inside of your hat to keep your
Oh,
shoulders
okay.
together.
To keep my shoulder together.
Yeah, like
My shoulders
when you,
just
like,
fall
pull your
apart, yeah.
rotator cuffs or something. You put a hat on it, and the pockets keep it together.
Okay.
That's good to know.
Yeah. We're not
Okay.
doctors. That wasn't medical advice,
But it was legal advice.
Okay, so I'm overpaying. I'm overpaying on my groceries. So
you did air quotes there for the listeners.
got it. But then anyway, back to so what do you give to the bank if not gold?
Sometimes paper money.
Paper money. Okay.
Sometimes paper that has a money amount on it
Uh-huh.
in my name.
So you
So
just
it's
have a
just-
piece of paper, and you can just put an amount on it and
Right.
say, "I've given you this now."
Right.
Yes, exactly. That's exactly.
Do you have to like cut all the letters out of magazines separately and glue them onto the paper?
No.
I've actually
Whoa,
heard of
that's-
this before. I think it's called a credit card.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So let me.
I've never seen one. I've just heard about it before.
Yeah. Let me ask. Do you own a credit card,
Yes.
or does the bank own your?
Well, I was gonna
credit
say, I
card?
think she's.
Gotcha.
I think she's given the bank her credit card, so she doesn't
I
have
have
it
not.
anymore.
Oh, okay.
Wait, I thought you said you gave it to the bank.
No.
Wait, what did you give them then?
Paper.
The credit card.
Yeah.
No.
No, that's
No.
plastic.
The credit card is plastic.
Yeah.
Interesting.
They've asked me this at the store before. Actually, paper or plastic.
Yes, exactly. That's what they're talking about.
I've always said plastic.
I
and
always-
they did accept the credit card.
I always thought that credit cards were paper and debit cards were plastic.
No,
Oh,
it's
maybe
the other way
that's what I
around.
had.
Other way around.
Yeah.
So you give them your debit card at the bank.
No.
Come on! I thought I had it this
So
time.
close, you're so close.
Damn
What's
it!
happening here? This is absolutely not common sense. I just need to throw that out there.
But that's
Banks-
because they're not operating under our rules here.
That's true. When we take over the global financial system,
Mhm.
I was gonna say,
Institute of
banks ain't
Financial
legal now.
banks ain't legal.
We'll make the process so much easier.
For sure. Because you'll just be able
You
to...
won't need a ladder.
Not at all. I mean,
Exactly.
I would take out the booby traps.
I would like to interject. You don't need a ladder to go to the bank.
Well, maybe
Well,
you
you
don't. But
I
I'm
mean,
trying to get
Nathan-
behind the counter. I'm
Alex
trying to get
over-
behind the counter
Why do you want to get behind the counter?
so I can get our sponsorship.
So that he can have the authority of the bank to provide sponsorship for the podcast.
Why? Let me ask you
Oh,
this.
that's the sponsorship
yeah.
you were looking
I
for.
think.
Uh-huh.
Let me propose
Oh.
a solution
I was
here.
gonna say that's not a question, but
if
go
you
on.
start paying an appropriate amount of gold for your groceries,
Uh-huh.
you alone can provide sponsorship for the podcast.
Why do you guys need sponsor? I thought you were sponsored by the NRA.
What if you just were better at the podcast, so people wanted to sponsor it of their own free will?
I actually
Wow.
don't think that's possible.
Boom, roasted.
I mean, as to the question of why we need sponsors, I thought to be like an officially recognized podcast, you have to have sponsors.
Right.
No, that's not true.
Really?
Yeah.
How do you know that?
Because I follow a podcast that has like already somewhat famous people, and they didn't have sponsors for the first like 2 months that they
Is
did
it
a podcast.
was it officially licensed during that time though?
Who gives the license for a podcast?
Well, no.
Alex?
You should just answer that question with a yes or a no. Was it?
Operating, I'm invoking the Fourth Amendment here. I need more information.
No.
That's
Before
only-
I
don't get to
draw
that's
invoke the
only for
Fourth Amendment.
Alex.
I get to invoke the
Yes.
Fourth Amendment.
It's only his
Nathan
common
invoked the
sense.
Fourth Amendment
I
for
think
me.
me and Alex.
At this point, I would plead the fifth.
No, I have done nothing wrong.
So she is pleading the fifth.
That gets you out of
That's
everything.
not what you say to plead the Fifth.
That gets you out of everything.
All right.
I think everything has been resolved here with no additional questions needed.
I feel like we should move on. We've cleared everything up sufficiently.
Yeah.
All right. So
I think we should go back to where the tangent of the new legal system started. You were asking Alex about his hat.
Oh, I think we
I
got
think
the
we
information
covered.
about
I
that.
think we
you're
covered
still
that pretty
interviewing
extensively.
him, right?
well,
Water?
let's see. Is there any more information you feel like is relevant for your hat?
No, I think we covered it pretty good. Yeah.
Is there any more information you think is relevant?
No, I think the head thing was the main thing for me, so.
What color is your hat?
Well, that's a really rude question to ask, and I'm going to plead the fifth.
I mean, it was a very personal question. I
Yeah.
understand why you would not want to reveal that information.
True. Right. Well, let's move on. I'm actually hoping, since we have a couple of additional guests on our podcast, that you can help us settle a debate that we've been having
Absolutely.
Yeah.
pretty
You're
much
right.
for the entire history of this podcast. Our
Our
listeners,
listeners already know what we're gonna say.
everybody's already
Yeah, they
screaming
already know what we're
at
gonna
the
say.
screen. So there's this crayon, right?
Oh, I'm sorry. You don't need to go any further. I already said you're right.
I'm right.
Yes.
No, he's not.
So macaroni and cheese is not a crayon color.
Well, it is
Yeah.
a crayon
Or it
color.
shouldn't be.
No, it is though. But
It
you're saying
shouldn't be.
it definitely should be.
No, it shouldn't be.
It should not be. Macaroni and cheese has a wide variety of colors based
Mac
on
and
the
cheese is
cheeses
a
that you
food.
put in.
Just to be clear, your argument isn't that the crayon doesn't exist. Like
no,
you
it shouldn't exist.
Okay, so why
Yeah.
don't you lay out your argument? I'll lay out
All
my,
right.
and then we'll get everyone's opinions.
So there's
He's
this
right,
crayon,
but his
right?
reasoning is wrong.
It's a yellow crayon that they.
No, it's
since
not
they've
yellow. It's
already
macaroni
had-
and cheese.
All right, I'm not even listening to you right now. It's a yellow crayon that because they already had a yellow crayon, but to get you to buy more yellow crayons because they're trying to take over the entire crayon market, they've named it macaroni and cheese so that all the completionists out there need to have a yellow crayon and a macaroni and cheese crayon. And macaroni and cheese isn't a color, it's a food, and so that shouldn't exist, and only yellow crayons should exist. You know, there can be multiple different shades of yellow crayon, whatever, if you need different colors of yellow. They're all yellow. Macaroni and cheese is a food, not a color.
Okay, your argument is wrong, but your conclusion is
Right,
correct.
his argument is just factually, objectively wrong. There is clearly a yellow crayon, and then there's another crayon
Sorry,
that is called macaroni
Alex,
and
I'm gonna have to
cheese.
interrupt you. There is a yellow crayon.
There's a yellow crayon.
I've been stopping myself from saying crayon. I would just say crayon.
There's
So
a yellow
I-
crown.
No,
I
no.
completely agree with Nathan.
Can I
in
at
that
least say my
No.
argument?
You have to wait until the
Success?
other arguments have been established, and I think the issue is that macaroni and cheese does not describe the color in any way. In that, like, the color is not a component of macaroni and cheese. That's just a description of what things get put into this food. So if the words they used to describe the color of the crayon in some way
Here's the
set
problem.
the color so you knew, but you don't know
Here's the
what
problem.
that crayon will
Would
be.
you accept it if the crayon was actually made out of macaroni and cheese?
Then it wouldn't be a crayon, though. It'd just be macaroni and cheese.
Well, I think
I'm
even
just
So it would be labeled properly.
even that's a problem, because macaroni and cheese is not macaroni and cheese because of its color. So it's not a appropriate name for a color.
See, Joel's wrong too.
All of the
I'm gonna let
crayons
Alex
should
give
just
his.
have specific sets of wavelengths
Mm.
of the visible light that is reflected.
the problem is
from
people
the
don't
wax.
understand what that means.
No, the
They-
real
They would
problem
if
is
crayons
that
would use
there are
that
several
Yes.
colors that a wavelength does not apply to.
I said a set of wavelengths.
Okay. How
the,
would you then
the colored
describe...
wax you would use bounded sets.
Okay.
You'd use set notation.
That is way too... Like, these crayons are for children.
Yes.
Children would not understand that.
Children are capable of understanding numbers.
Not set notation.
And I think they actually usually understand
And I thi-
numbers a little bit
they-
before they know enough words that stupid stuff like macaroni and cheese would be reasonable to them as a color.
Children may understand the basic concept of numbers, but they would not understand what the numbers on the crayon describing wavelengths of light mean.
And if you were making these
They
specifically
would if they were
for
taught them like
children,
words.
you just wouldn't put the
I-
labels on, because the first thing they do is peel the labels off anyway.
The wavelength of
The
light...
labels don't taste as good.
The wavelength
Right.
of light is such an abstract concept, I really think most young children would have trouble understanding it, even if you explained it to them.
No, I'm not saying in our current state. I'm saying if this was explained to you like how you describe colors, just like words are how we talk,
Okay.
children would be completely
Let's-
able to understand.
I,
Let's-
I completely agree. And I think
That-
we've all established that Alex is wrong. 100%.
Overall,
There's
in
no
agreement there.
argument to that.
It may be true that if you explained to children from a young age about numerical wavelengths of light relating to colors, they may understand that. But that's
That's
not the reality we live in.
The exact notation I have described is optimal. But the worst way to describe the color would be calling it macaroni
okay.
and cheese.
That's
No,
not true.
that's not true. The worst way to describe the color would be some words that are unrelated in any way to the
Like
color.
macaroni and cheese.
It's not unrelated. Like I can understand the argument that it's not a precise way to describe the color because macaroni and cheese can be different colors, but it's not unrelated to like macaroni and cheese tends to be a specific range of colors.
He's right.
So it does give you some
Okay,
information
so if
about the color.
macaroni and cheese spans a range of colors.
Yes.
Why would you not just call all of the crayons that are generally yellow, yellow? Because that describes a
Because-
range of colors.
Well, okay.
I don't think he's proposing that you name 16 different crayons macaroni.
There's
and cheese.
I'm saying that just
there's a
naming
many to
them
one-
all yellow would be exactly as
No, it's-
accurate, and then you wouldn't spark these debates.
No, it's
That's
not-
true because then you can't differentiate between the crayons.
Well, you would use your eyes. You
Guess
can't
I'll just leave.
differentiate between them if they all have names that just span the whole range of yellows, either, because then the names don't mean anything.
You have to buy them at the store. It is easier if they are identifiable by name. If you need to get
It's all a
another
chest
one of
full
the
of
same
gold.
color,
10 kilograms of 18
it is
karat gold.
convenience.
Do they sell individual crayons at the store? Have you
Yeah.
ever been to a store that sells single crayons?
Yeah,
I
art stores
might
do.
have seen that, yeah. I've definitely seen that with
that's like a-
colored markers.
Well,
I don't know
crayons
if it was
are
crayons.
that's a thing that artists use. That's one of the mediums. So there's really fancy crayons. They absolutely sell individual colors.
Why don't they make them in large?
In large?
You said they're medium.
This may be
Well,
a moment. Oh,
No, I'm gonna get interrupted.
Either way,
immediately if I try.
either way,
I've totally given up
established
making
Alex
any
is
attempt
wrong.
at an argument.
Alex is wrong. I
We're
think
all in
we've
agreement that
we've
Alex
all
is
agreed.
wrong.
All right.
So the debate is settled.
Great.
Well,
Really glad we had that one cleared up.
listeners, please weigh in.
No,
Send,
they don't need to. The
send us an
debate is
email
settled.
and let us know. Well, what their opinion is. They might think that
Okay,
you're
well,
wrong.
But then they'd just be
we've
wrong.
we've settled the debate, which means there is a definitive answer. Anyone who disagrees
I don't think we
must
all
be
agreed
wrong.
anyway, but
Well,
all of us but
ultimately,
you.
it is Alex's decision.
no, this is not a
because of
legal
common
question.
sense.
This is not a legal question.
It is. Well, if he thinks it is, If
Common
it's
sense would
sense-
say. that it
I
is a
don't
legal
think it's
question.
common sense to mandate specific colors of crayons, but it is common sense to mandate like sensible naming schemes for things, right?
Right.
So I don't know that I would necessarily weigh in on. Well, maybe I would weigh in on like, is mac and cheese a suitable crayon name? Just legally, no. That doesn't make any sense.
Right.
Would you like to be God? Is that what's happening here?
No, he's just a judge.
Exactly.
That
I
lives
would-
in a
the
solitary
new-
confinement prison cell in an
Right.
undisclosed location.
That makes decisions on every single thing that's happening.
Yes.
Yes.
Only in the United States, though.
for now.
Yes.
Okay, that's God of the U.S.
Well,
No, he doesn't. He's not any of the other branches of the government. He just decides every legal question.
Well, and also, like,
you're
there is no
deciding-
other branch of the government because we eliminated the Constitution.
Exactly.
Right.
that's true. What does your common sense say the way to enforce the new common sense law should be?
That's a good question.
I'm
I feel
imagining like stormtroopers.
Yeah, I think
think
pointing,
that's the most
pointing at the death
efficient
rally hat. Every crime is punishable by death seems a little extreme.
But
Well,
then everyone would follow
stormtroopers
the laws,
So
for
everyone
sure.
would follow the laws. That's just common sense.
Not true.
it's settled.
Well, they would either the choices would be follow the law or die. So all of the people that continue to live will follow the law.
You think you can actually keep people? You're not omnipresent. You
Well, if
can't
he
watch
has enough
everybody all the time.
stormtroopers, he
I
could
thought
have-
you said he was God.
No,
He
I
could
said
have
he
a-
wasn't God.
he could have a video feed from all of his various points of enforcement.
No, there will still be people that rebel against.
All right. Seems like we've got some more discussion to have, but maybe we'll have to save it for another episode. We've got a couple closing remarks here as we wrap up for getting ready for, whatever comes next. We don't really know. We've each got a pretty important question that we wanted to ask each of you. I'll have Alex go ahead and start here.
Thank you, Alex.
Yep.
So my question is this. At Nathan and Shelby's wedding tonight, oh, by the way, Nathan and Shelby are getting married tonight. I'll be giving a speech. Now, I have not planned this speech in any way, and I have no idea what I'm going to say.
Right.
So I guess my question is, do you have any, things that, about Nathan and Shelby that I should maybe talk about in my speech? So, Alex, do you have any suggestions?
I
or
will
thoughts?
also be giving a speech, and I have found it best to just wing it from the heart
Uh-huh.
and really talk about yourself, because ultimately
Okay.
I think there's a lot of talk about Nathan and Shelby at this wedding
Sure.
and not enough Alex
And
talk.
it's not
That's a
really
good
about
point.
that.
Yeah.
I would argue that then there has been a lot of Alex talk in the last hour.
For here, but not at the wedding.
Right, not at the wedding.
Exactly.
Okay.
And I think that you really need to promote the podcast for one,
Uh-huh.
to really
That
get
is
that
true.
reach. Should be
Yeah.
a big crowd.
Sure.
And I think that you should really center it around yourself to give yourself those flowers for being there.
Okay, thanks for the advice. Alex?
I gave him ideas.
And he gave me his ideas, so now I have your
Exactly.
ideas. Very-
Exactly.
All right. Very good. And Alex?
I would say what people like hearing most and are not expecting is just lots of definitions of words that are somehow related to a wedding.
or not at all.
I would say you
Webster's
should
Dictionary
probably
defines marriage.
tell people what Webster's Dictionary defines for at least 4 or 5 words.
You should just get every 3 sentences, just add a new one in.
Now, Alex, if you're gonna do that, we need to coordinate on the words so that we're
Right.
not just defining the
It
same
would be
word.
That'd be pretty
embarrassing
awkward.
if you both defined the same word, because the audience would already know the definition.
I was thinking-
And Alex is going before Alex, so Alex would just look bad.
Yeah,
Exactly.
so I think that we should, like, the way to do it is to daisy chain them. So, like, Webster Dictionary defines marriage as, like, a union between two people, blah, 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 and then Webster defines union as, like, so, like, and then that way people will know what you're talking about.
That does seem...
By the
And I would say by the end, it's totally
Everyone
unrelated.
will understand what has happened.
No,
today.
but because the problem is you only take one from each definition to get to the next definition. So, like,
So it's
whatever
a-
you
it's
pick
like
out
a
of
depth first.
right, whatever you
definition.
pick out of union is gonna, and it's, so like the 7th or 8th one. By the way, I'm gonna do like 15, I think, of these. It's probably gonna be like I'm gonna be defining like philosophy or like moral, like I don't know, just like something very like general in terms of language and thought.
High level.
Webster's Dictionary defines a
I
preposition.
think it's pretty low level,
Yes.
actually.
Like
Yes.
foundation of the language.
Yes. So
Great advice.
thank you,
Love
thank
to
you for
hear
your
it from
advice.
everyone. All right. I've also got a pretty important question. We're actually gonna do these on an individual basis. Each of you will receive your question. Very simple. It's just
You
a
know
yes
you're
or-
already engaged, right? You can't propose again.
That
Fine.
Wait,
I
let me
don't.
just.
Let me
I
come
don't
up with
know
a different
that-
question. Katie and Alex.
So to clarify, all of these questions are yes or no questions. So you don't
Right.
need to say anything besides yes or no.
Okay.
Milk.
Yes.
Shocker.
Leaves.
Yes.
Interesting. Presentation? No. All right. Wow. What a quick response. We love to hear it.
That's incredible.
Thank you everyone for your contributions today.
You're welcome, Alex.
You know what? I think that's good.
That's
right?
good. I just want to conclude the podcast by you thanking our guests as you just did, and also letting everyone know that Nathan owes me $2.
Ooh.
Just wanted to put that out there since I forgot to say that at the beginning of the episode.
That really sucks for Nathan,
Yeah.
wherever he is.
However, actually, you know what? As a kind gesture for your wedding gift,
Yeah.
For my wedding gift to you.
I will forgive your $2 debt.
I thought you were only gonna forgive one.
I will cut it in half.
I'll give you the friends and family discount. You owe me $1.75.
So I think that's a great note to end on.
Yep.
Thanks for listening, everybody. I'm Alex,
I'm Alex.
I'm Alex.
I'm Alex.
I'm Alex.
and this has been Joel.
Joel.